The House of Kings is unique among the Fallen. They are secretive, dangerous. They hide in the shadow of the Cosmodrome, waiting, plotting. If Skolos...
The colours of the House of Kings are rarely seen. They act with brutal contempt, as if they hold their rivals, other Fallen and City alike, in disdain. We have yet to grasp the full measure of their strength. If you have played Destiny quite a bit, and you know the Fallen, you'll know that there is one house that is shrouded in mystery. And as Petra said, and as the Grimoire card I just quoted states, the House of Kings are shrouded in mystery. They are rather unknown. You only encounter them about 3 or 4 times in the story, including expansions. And yeah, there isn't really much information about them in the Grimoire beyond the fact that they're mysterious. Ooh. But thanks to the recent expansion, the House of Wolves, there's a little bit more information as regards the House of Kings. Not much, but a little bit more that helps shed a bit more light on who they are and what kind of role they might play in the future of Destiny. Obviously, they feature a little bit more prominently in the story. Not as prominent as obviously the title, the House of Wolves, but yeah, they appear in one mission. So, who are the House of Kings? Well, they are fallen, like the rest of their race. Usually 4 arms, bastards who like to consume ether and like to run up to you and smack you with arc blades. But other than that, what makes them different from their cousins? Well, the fact is, the Grimoire describes them more like, instead of being warlike and brutal, they seem to be like their cousins in the House of Devils. They seem to be more sneaky. They do things from behind the shadows. They're not very well known. As well as this, stated in one of the Grimoire cards, one of the new ones added into House of Wolves, adding a bit more detail into the House of Kings, we learn a bit more about how they operate from behind the shadows. As Prince Aldrin states, "Look at it from the House of Kings' perspective. Their power is matched only by their cleverness. They rule the devils from the shadows and came too close to toppling the city not once, but twice. We don't know much about them, but we know this. The Kings want the Traveller."
At the Battle of Twilight Gap, the Devils, the Kings, and the House of Winter joined forces to take on the city. The House of Wolves could have turned the tide for the Fallen, but my queen interfered.
Now if we look at the Grimoire card for Vekis, a King Baron, we also learn, as quoted again by Prince Aldrin, "Of the Kell of Kings we know nothing. Wherever, whoever it is, it remains hidden. Even when the so-called Kell of Kells comes to its borders, instead, it sends just 2 barons, Paskin and Vekis." From what I can gather from the Grimoire, is that, as previously mentioned, the House of Kings seems to have control over the House of Devils through shadowy means, either through a false Kell who they've implanted, or maybe something the servitors altering the way the servitors tell the House of Devils to go about their missions and what objectives they need to complete. What we do know about the House of Devils, as stated in their Grimoire card, is this. These are the scourge of the city, the shadow below our walls. This is the house that led the battle at the Twilight Gap, the house we tell our children about to frighten them into behaving. The House of Devils have now devoted great strength to pillaging the Cosmodrome in old Russia, hunting for something buried below. If they are not held in check, whatever they find might prove the city's undoing. What I think is a good example of the House of Devils being controlled by the House of Kings can actually be found in one of the very first missions in the base Destiny campaign on Earth in the Cosmodrome. There's a mission where you have to go to the Forgotten Shore and scan 2 House of Devils transmitters. These lead you to the terrestrial complex, in which you find a King's data node. Essentially, it's a big collection of data on Rasputin. However, it is not red like the other ones. It is in fact gold in the House of Kings colours, and as expected, you get assaulted not by the House of Devils, but by troops of the Kings. I think this is whilst not solid proof, it is a very good indication as to who controls the House of Devils. And just how it helps provide a little bit more information onto the House of Kings, what kind of foe they really are. As well as this, it says in the House of Devils Grimoire card that the House of Devils themselves led the battle at Twilight Gap when three houses united: the House of Kings, the House of Devils, and the House of Winter. However, we can probably imagine that in reality they were being controlled by the House of Kings in that, and that they weren't really the ones leading it. They were made to think that, to help get not only the House of Devils onto their side, but the House of Winter as well. Obviously, I will probably make an updated version of this video when more information comes out about them, hopefully maybe in the next big expansion, the House of Kings. Or maybe if the Grimoire gets updated with some sort of new DLC before then. I don't know. All I know is all this stuff is open to interpretation. Now, I don't normally do lore videos for Destiny. I'm more of what my personal favourite things are. But I found the House of Kings to be a fascinating foe. The lore around them, what little there is really interesting. So, because of this, I will probably be doing a few more lore videos. I'm not trying to muscle in on Sir Warland's gig. I will probably not do lore videos that often. But I did enjoy doing this research into the Grimoire, so I will probably do a bit more. Information on the Fallen is generally fascinating. They are a fascinating enemy. So I will probably do another lore video or two based on the Fallen. Obviously after that I will probably do more of my usual content, but when it comes to lore videos I might do a few on the Cabal, on the Hive, just on the world of Destiny in general. However, thanks to the new expansion House of Wolves, it has provided a really intriguing new source of lore and information in regard to the House of Wolves. So I aim to make my next lore video, not my next video for sure, but my next lore video to be a video based around the new faction, the House of Wolves. And maybe go into a little bit of information to the House of Judgment, seeing as how they are tied to each other. So until then, I hope you enjoyed my little ramblings on this. See you in the next video.
Open the reef to the Guardians. Offer the riches of our realm as bounty for these traitors. Let the hunt begin.